Hello, guys. My name's Alex, and I want to confess how once I almost ruined my dad's new family and even had my mom get involved in everything. The story I'm about to tell you right now happened because of my bad habit of poking and prying, as they say. Everything happened a few months ago when my dad told me that he and his wife, Mildred, were going to have a baby. The news was really exciting, and I was totally up to finally having a little brother or sister. Mildred and I had become close a long time ago. She is only 10 years older than me, and we've always had plenty of things to talk about and stuff to do together. And speaking of my mom and dad, I happen to be in an enormously happy divorce family. However, there was never ever a second chance for my mom and dad to be together, or at least I thought so, until one night. Dad, as always, had taken me for the weekend, and I was having a pretty great time altogether with him and Mildred until somebody called and Dad said he urgently needed to get to the office. I stayed home with Mildred, watching girly stuff on TV, and we gave each other manicures. It was pretty late at night when I suddenly realized that I had left my notebook with my homework in it at home. Where I lived with my mom. I really needed to turn it in the next morning, and Dad still hadn't gotten back home, so I called him and asked him to stop by my mom's house and grab it, but he didn't answer the phone. I got really nervous because I would definitely fail without that paper, and Dad wasn't answering me, so Mildred let me take her car to go and get my homework. She couldn't go with me because she wasn't feeling well with all the pregnancy stuff. I promised to return fast and grab her something tasty on the way back. I got really surprised when I saw my dad's car near my house. He and my mom definitely have a great relationship, but they've never seen each other without me, Besides, he said he was going to go to the office, not here. I didn't want to think that anything bad was going on, but thoughts were swirling in my head about what could be going on. It couldn't be true that my dad was cheating on Mildred with my mom. Come on. Honestly, I didn't know what I was supposed to do, so I just decided to return to Mildred, having completely forgotten about my homework. All the way back, I felt really awkward and was still thinking and hoping that I might have been mistaken or something. Eventually, when I got back, I said nothing about what I'd seen to Mildred and just immediately went to my room, pretending that I really needed to sleep. Soon afterward, I heard my dad come home and tell Mildred that he had so much paperwork in the office to deal with, not mentioning the fact that he had visited my mom. This made me 99% sure that the two of them were having an affair. And I felt like this mixed and controversial feeling inside of me was starting to grow. When I finally fell asleep, I had a nightmare, which actually started with my mom, my dad, and myself having lunch at a fancy restaurant. At first, everybody seemed to be happy, and it was obvious that the two of them were together. But when we left the restaurant, I saw Mildred nearby with a baby in her hands, and that made me sick. The whole next day at school, I couldn't stop thinking about the situation, and the fact that I'd gotten an F for missing my homework didn't even bother me that much. At home, I was surprised once again, but this time it was by my mom. She had a new haircut, a brand new outfit, and a huge smile on her face. When she saw that I was really surprised by the way she looked, she said she had unexpectedly fallen in love with someone, and it kind of took her by surprise. That was it for me. I couldn't stand this kind of betrayal happening around me. So I just yelled at my mom, asking her how she could have done such a nasty thing to me, and ran up to my room. She followed me, insisting to me that she would explain everything, but I didn't want to see her or talk to her, and I actually just totally avoided this conversation with her for the next couple of days. The vision of my happy parents and a miserable and dumped Mildred had been torturing me constantly, even though deep inside myself, I knew it was none of my business how the grown-ups in my life were going to fix their lives. I felt like I was part of everything. I felt like I could be blamed for not saying a word to Mildred. I felt how mad I was at my mom and dad. But a small part of me still wanted to be happy by having both of my parents live together. In all of these thoughts, I completely forgotten that I'd promised my dad and Mildred that I would go with them to the DIY store to help them pick up stuff for the baby's room. So when they arrived to pick me up, I was a total mess. So much that even Mildred noticed something was wrong. While we were on our way there, my dad said he was already aware of my strange behavior with my mom and so on, and Mildred was sort of helping him say that I should be more supportive of Mom, having fallen in love with someone. And guess what? This whole secret infidelity just broke loose right in the middle of the wallpaper aisle. I was pretty loud, to put it mildly, telling them everything I had seen and had been dreaming of and had been worried about for like days. Dad and Mildred just stared at me as if I were speaking Chinese, and I wasn't letting them get a word in edgewise. I ended up crying so hard and then ran off to look for the bathroom. I just left them there. I couldn't see or hear how the story was going to end. A couple of minutes later, Mildred found me in the bathroom. Honestly, she didn't look the way I thought she would have looked after hearing her husband was having an affair with his ex-wife. She was pretty calm and maybe even smiley. I can't be sure now because back then my eyes were swollen from so much crying. Dad was waiting for us in the car. At first, I refused to have a seat because I didn't want to share a space with that nasty traitor, right? I mean, however the situation was going to be solved, he was definitely not the victim. Then they told me that they were going to discuss everything, but we needed everyone who was part of the scandal to be present. So we had to go to my house and have a talk together with my mom. I was really disappointed with Mildred. I thought she wouldn't ever want to talk to my dad again after she knew he was a cheater, but she continued to hold his hand the whole way there. When we arrived, my mom was already waiting for us. She was also smiling, and it seemed like she had forgotten that I'd actually been in a fight with her for the past few days. I thought that the grown-ups in my family had literally lost their minds. I mean, why else would they be reacting so calmly to everything? But when I heard the explanations, I immediately turned bright red with shame. It turned out that my dad really had lied to Mildred that night, and that he really had gone to Mom's house. But it was not to cheat with her. It was to get some baby stuff that used to be mine. Mom kept all my baby beds, baby clothes, and so on in the garage. And since Dad and Mildred had recently known that they were going to have a baby girl, Dad thought it would be nice for my little sister to sort of have this legacy from me. And it was also a surprise for Mildred, which I had actually not purposely spoiled. I didn't know what else to say, except how sorry I was. And then I asked who she had fallen in love with, if it wasn't actually Dad. She laughed and said it was her coworker, who she'd known for like ages. Since then, the story of my epic fail had become a family anecdote, and I still sometimes feel ashamed for jumping to conclusions. Have you guys ever been as stupid as I was, not seeing things as they really are and making something out of nothing? Tell me about it in the comments below the video. Feel free to share my story with your friends if you found it interesting.